Excellent. Can I see this? That's the big question. Oh, there we are. Haha. We are back live. Hey, welcome everyone back to GGP, Gay Gaming Professionals. Again, we are talking about VR, XR, AR. We are back talking about virtual worlds and education this time, and we are gifted with two great educators right now who are going to talk about something that's going to be amazing. It's going to be music. Maria, why don't you kick us off? Tell us about yourself and about what you do.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me so much. I'm Maria. My artist name is Ibarra. I use my last name. And I've been teaching music and trying to grow my little project. It's centered in the Bay Area, but if we can grow out of that, that would be great. And it's centered around helping people with low resources, people of color, people of the LGBTQ plus community who just don't get the same opportunities that other people will get. Like, I find myself as an artist attempting to play shows or just other people get the options. So I want to grow our numbers, like in the music scene, in the art community. I want to make sure that everyone can feel comfortable in reaching out and saying, I need help. I don't have the tools that I need to succeed to express myself. And so I'm hoping that my virtual space eventually becomes a physical one where people can just show up and just create and not have to worry about all the other things of life, because it becomes very hard to just not focus on the really hard parts and just be able to create, especially when you don't have the resources. Then you don't even try it. So that's basically my goal, to get this out to as many people as possible and make it as easy for everyone as I can. So yeah, thank you. This is great to be able to share this with you guys.
Excellent. Marlon, tell us about yourself a little bit.
Hey everyone, thanks Maria. Hi everyone, my name is Marlon Fuentes. I'm originally from Mexico City, by way of Los Angeles. Pleasure to be here and get to share with everyone. I wear lots of different hats, like many of us. I work on a lot of virtual reality, documentary work, a lot of community storytelling, ethnographies. My background is heavily involved with music. DJing has been a passion of mine for many, many years. And my day job right now, I'm working at the Grammys at the Recording Academy, where I manage global music. And it puts me in touch with a lot of different communities, really kind of gels everything that I love doing as far as being close to the culture, and really just keeping me inspired for creativity. And so I'm excited to share with my colleague here about, how we make creativity happen. And today I'll be sharing from an exhibit that we just launched at the Museum of Design in Atlanta called the FutureHappened. And it's going to be about futures of music. It involves virtual reality work as well, photogrammetry work. So I'm excited to share that with you. So stick around, and back to my co-host here.
Wow, that's really exciting.
So we're talking about education. We're talking about bringing it into the virtual world. Of course, we have you are both great educators, bringing your knowledge into virtual spaces. Why don't you give us a little taste of what that is like?
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to put a quick little beat together for you guys. I'm gonna leave a lot of the technical stuff out, so maybe you feel inclined to reach out to me and be like, whoa, that was really cool, I wanna learn that. And maybe we can actually get into teaching some of you. So the only thing I did to prepare for this was get a Harvey Milk sample, just because I was inspired the whole thing we're doing here today. So it was pretty easy to find something inspiring from him right away. So we're gonna cut that up and try to make a quick little song, and hopefully you guys find that interesting. All right. Let's see, can you guys hear
San
this?
Antonio, there's a young gay person.
Okay, first I want us to just listen to this. It's a 2-minute clip. And I think what he's saying is, I don't know, it resonates with me. So we'll listen to the whole thing, see what fits.
Somewhere in Des Moines or San Antonio, there's a young gay person who all of a sudden realizes that she or he is gay, knows that if the parents find out, they'll be tossed out of the house. The classmates would taunt the child, and the Anita Bryans and John Briggs are doing their bit on TV, and that child had several options. Staying in a closet, suicide, and then one day that child might open a paper and it says homosexual elected in San Francisco, and there are 2 new options. The option is to go to California, stay in San Antonio and fight. 2 days after I was elected, I got a phone call, and the voice was quite young. It was from Altoona, Pennsylvania, and the person said, "Thanks. And you've got to elect gay people so that that young child and the thousands upon thousands like that child know that there's hope for a better world. There's hope for a better tomorrow. Without hope, not only gays, but those blacks and the Asians, and the disabled, the seniors, the us's, without hope, the us's give up. I know that you cannot live on hope alone, but without it, life is not worth living. And you've got to give them hope. Thank you very much.
So yeah, that resonates with me a lot. So let's see.
And the voice was quite said, "Thanks."
We probably won't add all of this in here. Too much of an intro.
And the thousands upon thousands like that child know that there's hope for a better world. There's hope. Said, "Thanks." And you've got to elect gay.
I'm gonna use just this part.
Got to elect gay people so that that young child and the thousands upon thousands.
So usually I start my beat around 17 bars. So I'm just gonna lower the BPM till this fits up to 17.
Got to elect gay people so that that young child and you've got to give them hope. Thank you very much.
All right, so we'll forget about the intro for now. We'll just make a quick little beat here. I'm gonna loop this and we'll just build on this for now. It's just like random noise. I'll probably make it shorter. All right. So I like to go a lot off of randomness. I don't want people to like overthink and get too technical, especially if you're learning. So we're just gonna go with whatever's there first. We're not gonna worry about keys or anything. We're just gonna do it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
got some hats. Okay, so very quick, we already have like a little beat going on there. I'm just gonna, we'll see if this works together. And the good thing about like music production is you can get whatever you're inspired with in that very moment. Just like I was so inspired by everyone's rehearsal yesterday, and like I just wanted to look up something with Harvey Milk in it. It's like very spontaneous. Not a lot of planning goes into it.
Got to elect gay people so that that young child and the thousands upon thousands like that child know that there's hope for a better world. There's hope for a better tomorrow. Without hope, not only gays, but those blacks and the Asians, and the disabled, the seniors, the us's, without hope, the us's give up. I know that you cannot live on hope alone, but without it, life is not worth living. And you, got to give them hope. Thank you very much. Got to give them hope.
I could keep adding to this, but I feel like I don't want to take up too much of the time. I want to talk about some things and have enough time for my co-host here.
Got to elect gay people so that that young child and the thousands upon thousands like that child know that there's hope for a better world. There's hope for a better tomorrow. Without hope, not only gays, but those blacks and the Asians, and the disabled, the seniors, the us's, without hope, the us's give up. I know that you cannot live on hope alone, but without it, life is not worth living. And you, got to give them hope. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll stop it there. But yeah, I hope that was interesting. Or thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Awesome.
That means a lot.
Oh my God, that was magic.
Really, thank you.
That
I
was
really
only can be described as magic.
I was almost holding my breath the whole time.
I was holding my breath because it was so good.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot.
That's what your so how do you bring this, like, basically this magic into education? Like, how are you taking this and bringing it to helping others to see this genius that you have, like,
oh
been
my
able to
goodness,
create in, like,
your reaction is making my day right
moments,
now.
only moments. How are you doing this? Like, what is sort of the style of your teaching?
I think a lot of it stems from frustration of like fellow artists that are like males who just do not want to share their information. And if they do want to share their information, they're just very like pretentious, and they want to like explain things in such a difficult way that it's like, okay, I understand you have this knowledge. So they're like kind of closed off. But if it's like their buddy, they're willing to sit down and explain it so much more. So I was like, you know what? I need to like really just make it simple. Like, don't think about things. And when we're creating, it's very much like from our heart. Like I feel like the technical stuff comes later, you know, like unfortunately as creatives, we have to do some of the technical stuff, which I feel like a lot of us we don't want to. But people that are like kind of gatekeeping, they kind of make others feel bad for not have that technical ability or whatnot. So I think I've just been from the beginning like, just don't overthink, just make a decision. You know, like if you're gonna make a painting, you're not gonna sit there like, should I get baby blue or like teal or chartreuse? Like, just grab the paintbrush, just get the paint and start painting, and later you'll worry about any other things because it'll just flow out of you. And so I think that my students have really been resonating with that, and I think that they've been learning faster than they have before. I had a student say like, wow, no one's ever been able to explain this synth to me in a way that I can explain it. And the way that I did it is I'm just like, you drag this little thing and you put it in the little circle thing. And it's like later, once they learn, they can then themselves dive into the technical stuff. And I think that in the end, you can see the result. It has a lot of emotion compared to something that's very technically put together, which I still have endless respect for that. But I think you can always tell when something has a lot of emotion in it. And that's like my whole angle. I feel a lot, so I have to put it out there.
You in moments you have made magic again. What have you learned while doing this when it comes to education? Because it seems like you came into this being like, I want to do things differently. Like, how can anyone out here do things in such a way that we're basically not making the mistakes of the past?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I feel like, I guess it is good to constantly be reflecting on where you are and like the things that you've experienced, where I think sometimes we're just too focused on looking forward, which we forget to see all the things that went wrong in the past that we can fix. So I think like when I first started this, I think it was a kind of selfish in a way where I'm like, I want more women. I want more people of color to be my fellow DJs, you know, like I want. And it's like, I guess, change my perspective like that. This can, I guess, like what I show I show something to someone, they will pass that on and like they can learn from that. And I think I have changed a good amount of people's perspective on don't be so hard on yourself. Just like embrace the good and the bad in yourself and just lay it all out there and be like, this is who I am. And I'm going to try to improve the parts that I can. And if not, I'm trying my best. And I think that outlook is what's going to change everything.
That's beautiful. That's simply beautiful. Oh my God, that is. I wish there were more educators out there that shared your vision of how everything should be out there.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Absolutely, Marlon. I want to go to you. Like,
awesome.
Tell me what you're doing. Tell me how are you looking into education?
Yeah, so something that I think like my colleague here mentioned, is very important about creative work, and really also just future oriented work. Exploring the unknown, using technology that might be new. There's a lot of gatekeeping, as Maria says. These are all things that affect people who are curious about any one of these different avenues, whether it be music making or whether it be virtual reality or augmented reality or any of these, new venturous things that, we might want to try. And so I think that for me, the most recent exhibit that I'm about to show you guys is really a very much a personal celebration of that kind of bold creativity, that brave thinking, and that kind of just do it attitude. As Maria mentioned, like really, this is one of the things that was most exciting for me in entering the virtual reality space, was the fact that everybody, for the most part, was just starting out. With the exception of a few people that have worked for years in labs, building this stuff, for NASA perhaps, back in the days. This was all very new, and so everybody was, there were people that may have studied programming in the past, or people that may have studied panoramic filmmaking or photography. May have kind of already been exposed a little bit to some of these concepts, but for me it was brand new. And I also dealt with a lot of kind of knocking on doors, going to meetups, trying to see who I might connect with that would help teach me. And ultimately, I think that the attitude of just going for it and just making something, anything, I think is really, really key. And I couldn't be more in agreement, with my colleague here, because you also realize how you progress. Your first attempts, might be very, very simple. They might be things that, you think, oh, I messed up here, or, the quality of this video is bad. But, little by little, I think you really do begin to realize that, especially in LA, I'm from Los Angeles, and I'm gonna say this: there's a lot of people, they just talk. They talk about doing work. They talk about collaborating. They talk, or they're on Instagram more than they are in the lab, working on stuff. And in the end of the day, I think really just making something, and I call them ugly babies. So a lot of these things, I'm like, because it's like you love them no matter what, even if they come up messed up, Maria, it's funny, you're making beats. Like my first attempt doing that kind of stuff was with like an MPC, like a little 1000, like a little
I love that.
and it was just so like choppy and messed, but you just got to do it. So what I'm going to show everyone here is a little bit of an exhibit that is currently up in digital display at the Museum of Design in Atlanta. And this is an exhibit called The Future Happened. And I'm just really, really excited about this, because in many ways, these are voices that we may not have always heard from in the curatorial institutional space. We have so many artists here, ranging from Burna Boy to Nigerian Afrobeats artists, to Laraji, to the Dungeon Family in Atlanta, Daito Manabe in Japan, and also the Lavantil Rhythm Section, which is a group of percussionists in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a story that really just, for me, gelled my understanding of what was possible with virtual reality filmmaking so much, because it really allowed me to step away from the actual end product in many ways, and really give the opportunity to community that often in the news is really looked upon as a place where it's very dangerous. Lavantil is, if you can think about perhaps the barrios in Mexico City or the favelas in Brazil, very much that same kind of perception, from the mainstream media in this place. But really just a very, very wonderful place and an incredible community. But this is where a lot of the musicians come from that are part of the carnival bands during the annual celebration. And I'm going to play some of this video. Now, this is a VR 360 video that you can watch on an Oculus Quest or any headset, really, by using the YouTube VR app. A little bit of background on this. We shot this in Laventille, Trinidad and Tobago a couple of years ago. This was a part of an event, a project that was hoping to bridge the Afro-Caribbean diaspora by way of emerging technology. And so this project was very much a community effort. The gentleman here that's on the left with the black tank top, his name is Trevor, and he's the leader of the Laventille Rhythm Section. They've been around, they've been together for decades now, generations, and this story is very much, I'd call it a virtual reality ethnography that really is here to help future generations, current generations catch a vibe, really understand a little bit about the community. And in the immersive form of virtual reality, I think you get that much more of a vibe, as I'd say. So let's go ahead and play a little bit of this. Can we hear it?
I'm not getting any audio.
Not getting any audio. Okay, one second.
While we look into, I think, yeah, go for it again.
Yeah, let's try to get this audio because you got to hear this. These drums are just amazing. Okay, here we go. Share sound, optimize, Optimus Prime. Let's do this. Okay, cool. Here we go. Try number 2. Okay, so Laventille Rhythm Section. Take 2, here we go. We have sound?
Yeah.
Being together. Young men becoming old men. Babies becoming men. All in one band.
There are many other rhythm sections in Trinidad and Tobago, and most people will tell you that, boy, them Laventille rhythm section, boy, them is something.
Now, this next part of the clip is
Section,
really
boy,
very special.
something.
This, I'm going to pause it for a second. We're now, really the story of this production. We get there, according to our plan, we're going to arrive at 10 o'clock and start shooting, start working. And, we get there and no one was there. And so we're waiting, and Oba, who is this gentleman here in the white polo shirt, was the only person that had shown up. And he's like, you guys, do you want to know the roots of this music? Would you like to know sort of the heart and soul of this community? I was like, sure, let's do it. I would love that. That would be incredible. I'd be honored. And so we start walking down the road, and needless to say, it started raining. And so I took my shirt off, put it on the camera to save the camera, and he takes us to this house of a couple who are priests and keepers of a Yemaja Pali, which is a Yoruba shrine and temple for worshiping the deity Yemaja, who is a West African deity, in the Yoruba tradition. And here he basically begins to tell me, why this group is so important to the community.
Years, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, their experience, their environment is not ours. Our own, I think, is special. Our own is special. And as soon as we get to realize how special we are, this community that is so much maligned by the press, by the media, by the church, by our schools, by everybody else, we could turn around the whole thinking and make Yoruba Village, make Laventille, make Gonzales, Belmont, Mova a special place. I think so.
looking out into the city.
We started very humbly, trying different things, and ended up realizing that the crazy things that we were doing and having fun were actually having people reacting to it. And that used to make us feel like if we are doing something positive, something constructive. Gain experience along the way.
Yeah, something that's very interesting about this style of filmmaking is also the fact that there's not much you can do as far as fixing things that may have popped up unexpectedly in the shot. You have here a you're basically in the community. I'm here kind of very nicely telling this gentleman, if you could move aside with me, and in this work, I'm gonna say this because my background is in ethnomusicology. I studied ethnomusicology at UCLA, and one of the things that they teach you, in these fields, in these kind of anthropological fields, is how to be a professional guest. And so that's a muscle I think that VR filmmakers really begin to develop as they work in different communities, and they have to find themselves really co-producing things with the people that who are telling their stories. And so one of the things that I learned very quickly was how to very calmly and casually and in a way very locally, at least in my best attempt, have a quick conversation, and just kind of give a fist bump and yeah man, like it was very interesting to practice the theory of which is ethnography. And one thing that I invite everyone to check it out, it's the FutureHappened.org. You can find the Laventil rhythm section piece in here, but just to kind of give a little bit of why this work is so important is that I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here for a second, is in the global music space, we've really come a long way, I'd say, in what technology can do for us to tell our own stories and to tell the stories of our communities, for the content space to really reflect the diversity, we have in society. But in this case, I'm gonna say that we've come a long way in the fact that global music, especially our music of, different countries, has now an opportunity to happen in sort of in its own terms. I'm holding here, these are the books that I used to read in college. This is a book called How a Musical is Manned by an ethnographer named John Blacking. This is like British Army, serviceman, that was just stationed in different exotic locations, Indonesia and, Zimbabwe, right? And these were the first people to write about the other, right? They were the first people to write about the music that they heard. And, well-intentioned, no one wants to be a bad guy, right? But some of the things that, as I would read these, I'd be like, that doesn't sound right. That sounds a little patronizing there, He says, if English music were as elementary as Venda music, Venda is the indigenous tribe, then of course the English would seem to be as universally musical as the Venda. Like just casually kind of saying things that, at a later time, we look at these things and they're like, God, it's not okay as much, it's making these comparisons. And so, we've really come a long way. These are some of the early ethnographies that were out there. Later on, it became more popular to study and teach about popular musics. Still very much sort of this like lofty academic thing, right? And I'm talking pre-internet here. But now I think what the most exciting thing about the time we're living in today is that people's histories and narratives are being told on TikTok. They're being told on YouTube. We have the opportunity to just make stuff and be stuff, make beats, make videos, do 360 videos and things like that. And so everyone has this opportunity now to tell their story on their own terms and share with a worldwide audience. No longer do we have to accept this is the official story of like my people, right? And so I just encourage people to do, you know, just like my colleague Maria says, you know, just make stuff, just go for it, you know, just make it, whatever it is, but share your narrative, you know. And so VR and you know, immersive tech here, as far as like education goes, for me, it's very much an opportunity to be immersed, but the fundamental, I'd say, value of the content itself, or the media itself, doesn't change from whether, you know, we were writing books or whatever that media was. The message still has to be there, the depth still has to be there, and it's just, we just have new tools, and you know, they're more immersive, sure, but you need to have that that depth of message, you know, and community, you know. I think that's the other thing that's really key, you know. But you know, this has just been something, I invite everyone to check it out. The FutureHappened.org. It's going to be up for a year, and yeah, just really exciting. I can go on and talk about other projects, but this one has been something that we've been very excited about.
That is absolutely amazing. I put a link in the chat if you're interested in checking it out. But actually, for both of you right now, after listening to you talk so passionately about like education, about music, there's a word that keeps coming back over and over again. It's boldness. Be bold, to go out there, to do the thing. For both of you, I want to hear both of you. How do we keep that boldness where so much of what we do now is like it has to be the perfect the first time? How do you energize your students, or how do you you know, get the people you talk to where it's like, look, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to do things that are not going to be pretty, you know, you're going to have your ugly babies, but like, how do we be bold? How do we teach boldness within the community?
Ooh, that's easier said than done. I don't know. I try to tell my students all the time to be self-aware of those moments where you're just like doubting yourself, and be like, wait, I'm having this moment where I'm just doubting myself. Let's just do it. Or tell yourself, you know, like, just go for it. Like, tell yourself, like, just do it. And slowly, I feel like it's like good practice where eventually, without thinking about it, you're just going to make that decision. And it could be in anything about life. Even if you're feeling down about yourself, just be like, wait, in this moment, I'm thinking just too negatively. Let's switch it up. Just be self-aware. It's not like just because you think that way, that's how it is. It's like, just like anything, we can learn to adapt and change, to be bold, to not care so much what society thinks if we're not perfect.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you know, it's I think for me, and I think for a lot of people that really, you know, want they hope great things for themselves, and they deal with you know, just the struggle to kind of manifest their dreams. A lot of us, some of us, you know, have a lot, even more obstacles than others, you know. I think being able to kind of be okay with yourself and not rely on validation outside, I think is really important. You know, and I'll tell you why. You know, for me, one of the most important, I think, elements of my journey with technology and creativity has been the hackathon community, because, you know, I didn't grow up in, you know, Silicon Valley. I didn't you know, have like coding classes in high school. I didn't come from, I grew up in Long Beach, you know, East Side Long Beach. I didn't have a lot of, I didn't know any like UX designers growing up, or any sort of techie folks, you know. And really wasn't until I was in college that I even became aware that these were avenues that I could explore. And going to the hackathons and going to places where it was okay to not have, you know, I didn't have to show up with my resume, you know what I mean? I wasn't applying for a job to participate. I was just simply a volunteer. I was showing up. You know, those opportunities really helped me build confidence in some of these tech spaces that I think are often very intimidating for a lot of us, especially those of us that, didn't kind of grow up in this space. I remember my first hackathon, I went to one in San Francisco. It was the Google Assistive Technology Makeathon. And so everyone was coming together to build technology, assistive technology for people with different ranges of abilities. And I just kind of began to get interested in like design thinking. And so this was the first time, and just being around people like, oh, here's a data scientist to my right. Here's like just an amazing designer to my left. And then asking yourself, what can I do? And, maybe it's doing a little bit of research, and maybe it's, collaborating just each one of those opportunities really helped me build my confidence, so for me, just kind of being bold is just getting started, and watching other people get, just do things from scratch is so inspiring. Just like you did, Maria, watching somebody do something from scratch, right?
Yeah, and I love what you said about not relying on outside validation, because especially as a person of color, as a minority, it's just, you're not gonna have like a room full of people cheering for you. You shouldn't wait for that. You is enough, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no,
sorry, go for it.
Oh, yeah, no, good.
No, I was going to say, like, you going into, touching back on technology and sort of like all of this new stuff that's starting to come in. You mentioned, growing up, and I was true with myself. Growing up, it was like you would never think about, oh, we're going to teach this to VR. You would never think there's a 360 video. There's never like any of this where we can see someone create music live on a stream that very moment. Like this is very unheard of. So for you, both of you, how have you utilized this technology, or what draws you in where it's like, oh, this is how I make this work. This is how I'm going to reach out to more people through this technology.
Well, I think like physically, there's a lot of spaces and opportunities that I get turned down from just based off of who I am. So the fact that the internet is just like this platform that no one's gonna be like, nope, you don't know the person inside. You can't come in, you can't perform for us. So I think especially since the pandemic, I talked about this a lot. It gave everybody like an even like platform. Everybody has to share the virtual stage. Like you're not, like even if you're a small artist, a big artist, your platform is the virtual stage. So I definitely I do feel like if I would have existed before the internet, I probably wouldn't be able to do as many of the things that I am doing now. I wouldn't be able to have just a bunch of students teaching them for free. I wouldn't have the resources to do that. So definitely very grateful for the internet and then the time that we live in, and so many resources are available.
Totally. Yeah. No, I agree. It's funny. Lately, I think things became so politicized, especially, just the last years, this part of this era that we're living in is also just like this information overload as well, right? We all know the feeling of doom scrolling. We all know the feeling of getting like just freaking out on some random person on Twitter. I've been there many times in the last year, right? And it's interesting because if you look at like history, it's almost very sobering to read history, even if it's things that are kind of messed up, just because you kind of take the lesson away, right? And as far as something that I can share that I think is really very like for me, it has really changed. Or it's really in many ways helped me navigate as well, like a lot of this thinking. So there's this book called Future Shock. Alvin Toffler wrote it in 1970. And it's a really, really cool book because it talked about what the future might be like. And some of the things that were mentioned in here, have to do with like, here's chapter 4, the throwaway society. He talked about sort of the end of geography as like an important aspect of our lives. He talked about transient media, you know, things that kind of come and go and disappear. And so I think now really a lot of the things that we can take advantage of are also some of the things that, you know, we also have to, you know, mitigate. But I think we are really living in a great time, and, you know, especially for connecting with each other and hopefully, you know, creating a better understanding. I think one of the things, I think, at least in my experience, has happened is that, well, here's a little social experiment, I think, in the last year. Not having to necessarily be everywhere, you know, and having to rely on remote communications for collaboration really equalized the playing field for a lot of us, right? Who shows up in what car to work? Who's wearing what? You know, does this person's workspace have a door or not? Or are they in a cubicle? Those types of like hierarchies and like the way people treated you is like, it's very different, you know? So I'm excited. I really do hope that people kind of take away from that sort of like a just, let me just understand this person by what, you know, not about what they're wearing or, you know, that kind of stuff, and, you know, where they're sitting, what kind of car they drive, stuff like that, but just really about sort of what they're bringing to this, you know, to the space, you know, and whatever the space is, you know. But I think moving remote, you know, moving away from a central like sort of rule, I think is going to be the trend for, I think, in the future. We're really seeing that, you know. And so I recommend that this book, because it's like a fork, it's like a total like vision of that, you know.
So going into that a little bit, like we I think, you know, touching on that, technology has both allowed you to reach out to people who are not close by, to sort of decentralize what the education. How do you bring those people together? Like, how do you, okay, now we have all these people here that we want to reach out to. We want to like have something. How do we bring in like the human element, or how do we bring in everything? And I think, again, like both of you are in a very great space, because you're talking about music. And music is such like a humanizing and such soulful way to like, you get it instantly as soon as you hear the beat. Like as soon as like you were putting everything together for the music, Maria, as soon as like the band was playing in the video, like you just get it, like you're in it. But for like, how else can we help to bring these communities together and help them feel like they're not necessarily so scattered, but they're a part of something that is bigger?
Ooh, I think you're right. We're lucky in that aspect where we are working with music where naturally it's like, I feel like people are already like so connected to it. So right off the bat, we get that genuine connection. I would imagine it'd be harder, like if I was teaching like math or something, it'd be like harder to instantly find that connection with people. But I think like something like that Marlon said, it's like, instead of connecting with each other based off of like impressions on that, like the internet makes you create a relationship first. You're not just gonna like meet up on Zoom with like, you're not just gonna be like stranger. Like, so like first, before I start a lesson, like someone approaches me, they say, hey, I saw whatever, I'm interested. We talk from there. You create a relationship, and it comes from just how you are, not so much, look at all, come to my studio, look at all the cool gear I have. So that I think that connection just starts off right off the bat. And I do think we're lucky that music is part of that. I think it's just part of the soul that we're lucky in that sense. Not a lot of working towards that, at least in my corner.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the dangers, of course, of relying completely on media for education, let's say, you know, media, VR, AR, whatever, videos, you know, I'm a big Coursera fan as well, you know, but there's this element, you know, like you say, you know, Robert, of like human connection, you know, or humanity, you know, that really needs to happen. I think that people being able to have real experiences, you know, I think that, you know, there's definitely like an exploratory aspect to the internet, right? You can definitely experience some things, we're getting more and more clever as how people, what those outputs might be. But I think even if it's by yourself, even if it's a solitary sort of flow experience, I think even if it's just connecting with yourself and a feeling of collective, even though you're by yourself physically, I think, can be one way, but how you achieve that in somebody, how you inspire them to really find the perfect balance of challenge and ability, right? I love that concept of flow. If anyone's familiar with that concept of flow, of challenge and ability meeting and sort of progressively getting better at. That's what happens when we're really into like a particular new practice or a really good book. We're really into like we're learning how to cook, or we're learning how to dribble a ball. Those flow experiences, right? I feel like that in a way helps us create a human connection to learning, but I think ultimately people being able to go out and it's really hard right now because of the pandemic, but ultimately I do find it's important to connect with community and IRL and to go places and experience things. That's where really great creative comes. That's where curiosity comes from, as an experience.
Absolutely. Now that you're both doing amazing things right now, what is the future? What is the next steps? What are the things that you're either like looking forward to like in the next like couple of years, or what is like a big project that you would like to see happen? And at this moment, we can just speak into reality.
Oh yeah, definitely the goal is like we've been trying to manifest a physical space, like I've said many times. And I always preach this to everyone, just write the things that you want to do down, manifest your goals and just make them a reality. So, and like what you said, I think that at the end of the day, like real life experiences are important. So the goal is to eventually have a space, a studio area where like one time my friend said, if you won $30,000, what would you do? And I was like, oh, easy. I would buy a like property somewhere in the Bay Area where we can like have a space where people have a garden and where people can just create all kinds of art and like whatever. If we don't have it there and you feel like you can contribute to it and bring something different, do it. So I hope that eventually, as I get more students, we can just contribute, not with money, but like let's build this place together. Let's build on this and see other people thrive off of what we've built. And I think that will be more satisfying than having like a bank full of money and whatnot. And so yeah, that's definitely like a years from now goal for sure. But as far as like trying to get like a little taste of that, my birthday is next month, May 9th. I'm gonna try to guilt trip people into donating a bunch of money for a show for the homeless. We're trying to raise money for the homeless project. One of my really good friends is trying to like get them to donate their space and have like a little workshop and talk to them like what we're talking about now, and just have like real life people talking about things that matter and see if they're willing to contribute. And I want to get back to those people and show them like, look, this is what we did with your money, so that they can feel like they made a difference, which will encourage them to maybe continue contributing and maybe make their own change. So that's the goal for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I definitely want to check that out. I love that creative, especially the music production vibe,
Oh yeah, I really hope to do workshops. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
So cool.
Yeah, and real quick, if anyone in the Bay Area has a space they want to, let us use for a good cause, reach out to me.
There you go, Bay Area, you heard it. Get your spaces ready.
Yeah. Official
That's
space.
So cool.
No one come to me with my backyard is free. Official space
Official
where we
space.
can do socially distance.
We'd like a whole stadium thing.
Yeah, please, Abby. Get the stadium.
That's so cool.
Marlon, what are you looking forward to? What do you think is the future? Obviously, you have this project that's going on now, but let's what's going to be the next step? What do you have on your hit list of like, we got to do this next?
You know, I have been really excited about spatial audio. One thing I've always, you know, I mentioned the assistive technology project earlier, but with audio, you know, that was, you know, we worked with someone who, for that project, we made a augmented, very early sort of AR audio app, right? So basically, how could audio guide you or present, you know, some sort of overlay to the infrastructure around you? And that was about an assistive technology project for people with very low vision. I've stayed very interested in this space. You know, I am very excited about touching like things less, like phones. You know, I feel like a lot of our, you know, at least my hands are starting to feel like phone hands. You know, it's if you have ever felt your hand sore from just like being on your, you know, phone, or it's really terrible. So lately I've just been trying to, you know, look at how personal assistance and how audio can really help guide us. A couple of years ago, I was working with these glasses, which were the Bose AR frames. They since have discontinued them. You know, Bose AR unfortunately was shelved, but you know, they still make some glasses with speakers, but the actual software development kit was put to rest in their app and whatnot. So now I'm really looking at other devices. Apple AirPod Pros have the sensors in them to be able to be tracked with Unity, for example. And so, you know, who knows what that means, you know, collaborating with beat makers, with other artists, but also, you know, looking at how it might help us maybe encourage us to be pedestrians, or maybe it's helps us tell, you know, peer stories, or maybe it just makes things more accessible, you know, for folks that rely more on their hearing than they do their vision. And so, you know, that's something that I'm really excited about. I've done hackathon projects with spatial audio, and it is another one of those things where it's just ugly babies, like real ugly babies, like just real, like we had this project, you know, speaking of just like doing it, you know, I'm going to share, you know, it was a hackathon, the first time I ever messed with these things. And there was like hardly any documentation available for how to set this up on Unity. I mean, it was there, but you really kind of had to know your way around to kind of get this thing going. And ultimately we ended up having to sort of make a video where we sort of pretended like our project had worked. But, you know, the point wasn't so much like, oh, hey, we got this thing to work and everything is perfect, you know, like the little geo pins it was really about what would this look like? You know, what's the idea we're trying to get out, you know? So I learned a really great word, speculative. If you ever like need to just kind of like demonstrate how something might work that's maybe in your head that, you know, you can't get exactly working, you know, it's almost like beatboxing a beat that's in your head, right? It's like you're prototyping it, right? Just any way possible, you know, just get the idea out of your head and put it out there. And so with audio, I'm really excited. I as much as I love the visual, immersive visuals media, you know, I think that we were very biased in the XR space towards visual media, very biased, which is not to say it's a bad thing. It's just, you know, well, first of all, not everybody has, you know, that sensibility. And so just looking at different ways to try things out, you know, like I think would be something that I'm really curious about, you know. So if there's anybody out there that's interested in working on experiences, audio first, voice first experiences, I'm really interested.
Probably more than a couple of people would be really happy to hear that from you. I know Able Gamers is definitely a group out there that's looking to help gamers with disabilities to get the most out of their games. So I know like audio will really help a lot of gamers who are who rely on hearing more than their other senses. So and now, so like sort of wrap things up, obviously, I want to thank you both for your time. This has been an amazing experience. I know that everyone else has really loved, you know, hearing the music, learning about it. Where can people find more about what you're doing, who you are, or anything else that you may be doing in the future? I'll start with Maria.
Okay, well, if you want to reach out to me and learn, you feel free to like reach out to me on my Instagram. It's I should have changed it to something better before this, but it's at IBA33A. It's Ibarra, but instead of the R's, it's 33. So IBA33A. Just message me if you have any questions. If you want to check out my music, I'm on basically every platform. If you want to follow me on SoundCloud, it's Ibarra_music. And we have a group of people we meet like twice a month. And if that's something that you're interested in, like, please reach out. And if you want to contribute, if you feel like that my goals, my vision is something that resonates with you and you feel like you could teach something to the people, like reach out to me. We could work out some lessons. I have someone who reached out to me about teaching DJing, so we're gonna do like a guest lesson with her, and she's gonna do DJing. And so yeah, as you're all welcome, so reach out, don't be afraid, don't doubt yourself, do things.
Be bold.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop my Instagram in the chat.
Oh, that's smart. I should do that.
There you go. Marlon Fuentes is my Instagram name, and you can also follow me on Twitter at Marlon Creative. And yeah, you know, I'm just excited to, you know, keep testing new ideas. I also have a lot of interest for doing more with this Connect Azure. So if anybody is working on body tracking and, you know, puppeteering, you know, avatars and things like that. You know, if you're want to strap a sensor to your leg and, you know, do flares and break dance moves, I'm all for it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my my socials, and I'm excited to connect with more folks. Let's make some cool little experiences. Currently using a lot of Unity, but I'm very interested in also checking out some of these other engines as well.
Excellent. And since we started this grand event today with music, we started in VR. We talked about the ethics of VR. We talked about developing communities in VR and on streaming. We talked about learning in VR. We are going to end today also with a little bit of music, thanks to the King of Pants. But again, I would like to thank our guests, Maria and Marlon. You have been most amazing and fantastic.
Thank you.
And
thanks so much.
Again, hopefully you will be able to find this on our YouTubes, on the GGP Twitter, or definitely check out our Discord if you haven't already. Until then, we are sending the rest of you over to King of Pants, where you can continue to party, to dance, to check out everything as things are going. Get ready. We're raiding now.